back to another episode of the BigAsp Cornhole podcast. Sean and Dane are back with you once again.
That we are, my brother. How are you?
Good. All right, let's jump right into it, man. Let's not waste any time. The ACL season is underway.
Dude, first off, we did interview first.
We did.
And what a pleasure. Trey Ryder, goddamn, we love you, brother. I mean, it just makes life so much easier, so.
It really is.
It perfectly segues into, our favorite segment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Dane, do what you do best. Mm-hmm. Tell the folks what we're sipping on at home in a segment we call What You Drinking.
What you drinking?
Oh, exciting news.
Indeed. Well, I mean, we can. You want me to drop it before we tell what we're drinking?
Go ahead and tell them what you're drinking.
I mean, I always like to tell
right,
people. That's what they're waiting for.
All right, go ahead.
They don't care about the cornhole.
Right.
They want to know what we're drinking.
You're right. Go ahead.
So, Sean, one of my favorites, Three Floyds, a little zombie dust. Come on now. It's the undead pale ale that they have. God damn, is it tasty? I mean, I've already crushed 3 of them. This is number 4.
Yes. I already had one.
But my God, I mean, it's been... I think this is only the second year of that run for Three Floyds, but...
It's good.
Man, it's an on-point fall IPA. It is a little... it's a little rough because it's also 8.9%.
Oh. So
yeah, I mean it's an IPA that's gonna
sneaks up on you because it doesn't taste like it.
Yeah, it's gonna tickle you a little bit, but man, I love Three Floyds. I love the brewery, but Zombie Dust, that's where it's at. I figured we're getting around Halloween time, got to play into it. I think next week we got to have a little more pumpkin beers on here, but Sean was segueing into a new fun new announcement.
We were.
Well, guess what? We have a new sponsor.
What?
This segment is brought to you by Cornhole Solutions. If you're looking for some goddamn boards, some mats, you need to hit up cornholesolutions.com. They have all the answers for your cornhole problems, aka solutions. Thank you. Visit them at cornholesolutions.com. Get yourself some boards, mats. Do your thing, man. I mean, they make high quality boards. So
they also have their underrated 4 pro stamped ACL bags.
That they do. I mean, we reviewed the Character 77
way
before.
Back when.
Dude, it was a good bag.
We have more of their bags coming up in the future, but we're excited. Steve Miles, thank you very much, brother. This has been something that's been in the works for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Me and Steve have kind of been in contact the last 2 years or so. We're excited for this partnership. We want to help each other grow as much as possible. So thank you for the opportunity.
And they're one of the OGs for cornhole boards.
I mean, to me, it's like the 2 big guys are like Cornhole Solutions and West Georgia. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we're excited. So Steve and the gang at cornholesolutions.com, thank you very much, and we're excited.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, Cornhole family, we obviously have another excellent episode planned for you all today. The ACL season is underway. The first open event was held in West Dundee, Illinois, so we're going to recap those results.
The Dundies.
We have bags to review. We are going to be reviewing bags by Southwest Bagger Company and Big Daddy Cornhole. Then, at the very end, we already kind of teased this, we were joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the man none other than Mr. Trey Ryder.
Now, if anyone's watching on YouTube right now, can we just say this is the sexiest bag lineup we've ever had?
I gotta say,
these are some of the most on-point custom bags we've ever seen in our life.
It really is.
And yeah, I mean, just revel in it. Look at that lineup, Jesus.
Hell
I think we already know what the outcome is for all the design scores for these bags.
It's gonna be high. But before we jump into all of our fun, we bring you what's going on in our cornhole lives in a segment we call In and Around the Hole.
Brought to you by Airwolf Athletics. If you want to look sexy, you got to start from the top and work your way down. Go grab yourself a sexy lid. Airwolfathletics.com. Use code BigAsp. It'll get you 10% off.
Fall of 2021 is upon us, and when you think fall, you think pumpkin, you think orange. You should also think blackjack. That's right, blackjack cornhole bags. You get free shipping, amazing customer service. It's a no-brainer. Grab all your stuff, all your sexy-looking bags at blackjackcornhole.com. And, because we love you all, if you use code BigAsp, you save yourself 10%.
Dude, those orange Digicam,
it's ridiculous.
And brand new orange Reynolds carpet.
Woo.
What?
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Game changer.
Oh, yeah. It's not game changing.
Not,
All right,
you know
come
what
on,
I'm saying.
you can't say that. All right. TM.
So, did you throw it all this week? Oh, you had league.
I have league, man. I have league.
I
so
hate you every week.
yeah, so league this week. Me and Eric Anderson. I touted him with the strong task of, hey, you're the best pro here. Don't give up a goddamn point. And guess what? He pretty much listened. We went 10-0, and dude, Eric was on a different level. I was not on that same level. I had a couple good rounds against opponents that I needed to, but besides that, man,
Eric's back was pretty strong.
Jesus, yes, it's
All right.
very strong. I don't really know what. You're the physical therapist. What workout is he doing to strengthen that back? Because whatever you've been working with him, I know he had some back problems before. He's carrying me just fine now.
I'm the complete opposite. I threw bags once last week for a little bit, just getting ready for the bag reviews and stuff. Haven't touched a bag since. It kills me that you're in this fucking league.
It should.
I miss that more than anything. Like we've talked about this before. I would almost rather be in league every week than go play in, like, I will never play in another regional again.
Yeah, honestly, now that I'm back in league, I will 100% agree.
I miss the environment and, like, just seeing all the people you come really close with every single. I miss that a lot.
I will tell you, they're starting a West Side League in November.
I know.
Right there in Springvale. It's only like 10 minutes up the road.
I know.
On Wednesday night, so maybe you can sneak into that.
We'll see. Okay, let's go over ACL Open, the first one of the year. All right, so I think it's only fitting that we mention that Matt Guy was the overall champion in singles. It was impressive. It was Matt Guy-esque.
Would you say it's the best Matt Guy performance top to bottom we've seen on the ACL stage so far?
ACL stage? Yeah, I would say so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean the dude just
and that's going back to other ACL
averaging over an 11. It was something like almost like 88% bag 4-bagger percentage. I mean, it was just the guy just it was unreal. I mean,
pouring bags in the hole. That incinerator's working well for him.
I feel dumb for leaving him off my top 10 now. It's going to be adjusted sometime later this week.
It's also an open. It's a shorter tournament.
It is, but like again, I like to see who's hot now. I feel like you have to give a nod to that. And if he's back to stepping, he looked like his old stroke was there. He's playing with a faster bag, relatable to like kind of like an all slide type bag.
Yeah.
Kind of just seems like if obviously it worked, it fit right in his wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. But when he's stroking like that, there's nothing you can do.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to see Matt Guy be like back on top. He went all last season without winning any sort of event, whether it be a national, an open event in singles. Going into last season, none of us would have ever predicted that.
No, I mean.
So he had a down year in quotes last year. I mean, still was rookie of the year
with one of the highest. Did he have the highest PPR?
He did.
Yeah, the highest.
He led
PPR
every
on a
major
down
statistical
year,
category except for one, and Trey Birchfield held that. I want to say maybe it was 4-bagger percentage, and it was by like a percentage or something like that. But anyways, I'm excited to see him back on top. He beat out another player who had a stellar weekend, Jay Rubin. Again, and you'll hear later on in the interview today. I just want to see Rubin finish. I want to see him I want to see him be
all things that we've already said. I mean, we think he's
crazy talent. Clearly a top 10 player.
Yeah, he's an insane talent.
Yeah.
If he comes through and finishes, I mean, even though he might not have won this one, but like to me,
he still won his bracket.
No one was going to beat Matt Guy on this day.
No, didn't
Based
seem like
on
it.
On his stats and watching him play, he had that look where Matt Guy never looked down, and that's when you know he is killing it.
Yep. Stephen Bernasette and Sutton, they tied
Dave
for
Sutton,
third.
Yeah.
Dave Sutton's been playing some really good cornhole recently.
I mean,
he ended last year very solid. He's starting off this year pretty well. Bernasette showing that last year wasn't a fluke. He's still a force to be reckoned with in singles. I think that was a good sign. Especially, I think it silenced a lot of people's, including my, concerns about he's throwing different bags. He doesn't have the pink psychos. Is it going to be different? It's going to be different, but listen, obviously the results were pretty damn close to being the same.
Exactly, yeah. And, I like to think that I had something to do with Dave Sutton throwing so well because, I handed him a really hard loss there at the World Championships, and I think he maybe was a little embarrassed by it, and you should be, because I suck, Dave. All right, I had a hell of a round against you, but look at you now. Look at you now.
Look at me now. All right, doubles. You had Windsor and Herrera beat out Ruben and Power. Once again, you hear Ruben's name. Jordan Power also had a very nice run in singles as well. Windsor and Herrera. Again, it's that team that, like, it's boring to pick, but they just seem to get it done. They're always in the mix. You can never count them out in any tournament they're in. I think it's a good sign that they're starting off hot. Last year they didn't come out of the blocks firing on all cylinders, but it's nice to see that they might be in mid-season form already.
Well, I think a lot of people, for some reason, like when doubles, like teams were coming out for top tens and stuff, I think a lot of people forgot. Maybe like or not forgot, but they maybe thought that Herrera was the reason why that like they weren't finishing so well. But like,
nope.
Is there a more steady player than Isidro
in
the game? Like,
because if you look at the numbers, it was actually Windsor when they were struggling. Is that Windsor would go and throw like a 9 or a 10 PPR in singles, and he was averaging like a 6 in doubles. Like it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
He was just trying to do too much, I think, in doubles for some reason. But I mean, him and Isidro, they're going to be a powerhouse all the time when they play together. So
I mean, listen, and it's scary to think that they might already be in mid-season form already. Now, again, it's an open event. It's a little bit different, but, I mean, this open event was pretty loaded with some talent.
I mean, does it surprise you, though, that they're in mid-season form when the off-season's 3 weeks long? Like,
no, but you know how sometimes you take a little bit of time off from, being in the competitive nature? And
get a little bit lax. But to me, Isidro, I mean, he never strikes me as a guy that, like, takes it super serious. He does, but it's like it doesn't. It never manifests on his face. He's very relaxed while he plays, and I mean that's why he's like one of my favorite players to watch, because he is just very even keeled, does his job. He's very consistent, and Windsor. I mean, it's Ryan Windsor. If he's on with Isidro, dude, I mean that doubles team is hard to beat.
Yep, Brett and Matt Guy, they tied for third. Or I'm sorry, I think they took third. They take third in doubles. It's nice to see them play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, again, anytime those two pair up, they're going to be one of the favorites to go into an
Were
event.
they still throwing the incinerators together?
I don't know what they were throwing.
So I felt like Brett really found his groove with the control.
Oh, the assault.
Oh, the assault. I'm sorry. Yeah, the assault.
Oh yeah.
They're very close in my mind.
If I don't know what they would have done. Part of me thinks that if Dad was throwing fucking gas, throwing 11, I don't know.
Exactly,
I don't know what they did, but still taking third place in a loaded field like that, very solid. What I wanted to do was take just a second and look at list off some names to kind of look out for this season. All right, people who had respectable finishes, who I think have the potential to be kind of well known by the end of the year. Last year at this time, we were talking about an individual who had a very good weekend. His name was Jordan Power. You might have heard of him by now.
Yeah.
Okay. One of these other names that we're kind of mentioning right now is a name that I think you're probably going to be hearing quite a bit throughout the season. Noah Almanza. He's a Western Ohio boy.
Yeah. Someone we've had the privilege of actually watching grow a couple times.
The dude can sling. If you're an OG cornhole nerd like myself, you might recall Noah and his dad won the competitive doubles event at the World Championships a few years back. He was good then. I mean, he's even better now.
Yeah, I mean,
he throws a very
throwing some mean bags.
angled bag. They're throwing ultra bags. He's pro partner David Morse, I believe. We got to see both of them throw live in person at Cito Soto's cancer fundraiser. Crazy impressed.
Yeah,
kid's very, very good, very, very talented. So again, Noah Almanza, keep that name in the back of your mind. Don't be surprised if you kind of hear that name keep popping up.
Someone we've mentioned before in opens, especially early last year, was Steven Ochoa, out of Michigan, I believe.
Yep.
I mean, the kid. He is very, very talented. Him and his dad typically play together.
Taco,
Yeah, him and Taco play together. We mentioned him early last year because he went through the end of 2019 just running the gambit. I mean, any tournament that we saw come out of Michigan, he was the champion. I think he had a baby or something, so he had to take a little bit of time away. But like now that he's back, watch out for that kid because man, he is nasty.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see Steven and Taco do very well in doubles as well.
Absolutely.
They have that natural chemistry. Steven, I'll be interested to see where he kind of finishes in singles. It wouldn't surprise me to see him be like a top 30 player this year. maybe
but it's
top
so
40
hard.
player.
I mean, it's such a weighted thing to say because like top 30, like you might as well be top 70 and still have that pedigree with this.
With how loaded it is, absolutely.
Like it's unreal.
One of the other names, younger dude, out of Iowa, I believe, Jalen Jones. I haven't got to see the guy play live. I've seen a bunch of his live stream matches. I believe it was at the Clash last year that he played Ruben in the finals.
When I was there, that was the finals.
They lost, but I remember watching the kid throw, being super impressed.
He is
very steady,
very, very good. I mean, the only sample size I have is from seeing him at the Clash, and of course I was playing at it and drinking heavily. But from the couple like games that I saw him play, man, the kid's money.
Yeah.
And I only hear great things about him. He's a good kid, very nice, and Jesus, can he throw? I mean, we'll see how he does in the pro circuit.
The one name I have written down here, obviously a very popular name, but I thought it was funny that after I released the top 10, people were coming at me saying, you have Tanner Halpert ranked too high. No, I don't.
No.
I don't. If you know anything about cornhole and you've watched it before, you know that Tanner Halpert is going to do just fine this year. He ended up taking second in his bracket in singles. Again, he's good. He was good.
The guy has the nickname Kingslayer for a reason. Like you can't dismiss that.
Correct.
He has been doing this for a while now. He's moving up to the ACL. Yeah, sure, it's a bigger gauntlet. Maybe one or two of the nationals, you could slip up and lose 2 games a little bit early, but like so can everyone.
Yeah.
Like he is gonna be end of the year.
I think 10. Right now, if you were making predictions, I think that I would be way more shocked if he didn't make a broadcast at some point. I'm not saying necessarily win because the field is so deep, but if he didn't make a broadcast at some point, then
he's been doing it long enough that like stepping onto a broadcast stage too, like it's not going to bother him.
Absolutely.
He's been there.
I get it.
He's done that.
Yep.
He knows what he's doing. So Tanner Halpert's going to do just fine, and this showed it.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the bag review. Okay. I know the part of the show that everyone loves.
Of
course. Bags review is brought to you by Bagsboard, the maker of the original cornhole bag backpack, now offering a build your own feature that has over 10,000 combinations to choose from. Need patches to go on that sweet ass bag? Bagsboard has some of the best around. Visit bagsboard.com and grab yours today. Dane's actually rocking this sexy Bagsboard jersey today. I am supporting Blackjack Cornhole.
Oh yeah.
And maybe a little foreshadowing on my
hand. I mean I got the Airwolf Athletics lid.
Not saying anything.
Yeah,
just saying some stuff.
Sean's just saying things under his breath.
Okay.
But let's let it rip we'll start off with Southwest Bagger.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say you start with this one because I know it's gonna be in your wheelhouse.
This is Psychosis. All right. So carpet bag.
Again, Southwest Bagger Company.
Southwest Bagger Company. So first 2 we're going to do are carpet bags. Actually play a lot different though. So Psychosis. First things first, it is...
Before we go into the specifics.
Yeah.
When you first pick up the bag, people like knowing, what am I comparing this to? When you pick it up, what would you compare it to the most?
BG Viking.
Yeah.
In my hand.
That's what I thought.
I mean, it's very similar carpet.
Yep.
On the back side, and then that slick side is basically like slide right. Yeah. Material.
So again, it plays like a 7.
7 and like a 3,
4-ish, something right around there. Yeah.
Once it breaks in, I mean, it's gonna be a 3.
Yeah.
So all in all, like fill this bag. I love the fill.
Yeah.
These are not broken in at all, so he sent them to us just like ready, like just fresh off the press.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, it's not going to take much to break this bag.
No, it didn't.
It's his fill is very, very good for this style bag. This is the bag out of this lineup that if you are a cut shot, roll shot type player, block, this is the bag for you. It can do all of those magical shots because it has that carpet on the backside and
universal fill.
Moving into the other specs, it's a little more squared off than a BG Viking, so I think it makes it a little easier to pull in for shots that are kind of hanging on the side there. Fullness wise, it's not crazy full, but it's enough to give you a full handful when you.
I would say if you're comparing it to like something like really fat, something super skinny, I would say it's towards the skinnier side of the spectrum rather than
for
the
a
full
carpet
side.
bag especially, it's a little bit thinner than what we're used to seeing for carpet bags, but the fill is like it's big enough where like you can still get a handful and not feel like there's nothing at the front load of it, if that makes sense to people.
So if you're familiar with Lucky Bags and you've thrown Shamrocks before, it's slightly more full than like a Shamrock, but it's more towards that than what it would be.
I'm actually surprised Shamrocks never really took off.
I liked it a lot.
It was a good bag. It was just it was a carpet bag that like you couldn't do much with because it was so floppy.
It's hard to push through and stuff, but I like the speed and stuff. But again, it's more. I'm not saying it's that thin.
No, this
it's towards that end of the spectrum. Though.
Yeah, but this one will still grab bags and pull them in.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, like I was a big fan of this bag. Throwing it, like I said, does all the shots you want. Their closing seam is
awesome.
Boss. I mean, it is.
They're very well made bags.
It's a really well made bag. Yeah, I mean. There's none of the gimmick seams on the side or anything like. I mean,
it's clean.
It is very, very clean. I actually like the fact that the carpet kind of goes over the fast side a little bit on the seam, which to me, like, they know that people throwing this bag, they're going to throw the carpet side down more often than not.
Correct.
So it's very smart to kind of have that carpet move over because that makes that cut shot a little bit easier to throw. You don't have to. I mean, if you throw like a very steep angled bag for that cut shot, because like not all of us can get the right angle when they're going to do it. This one, I mean, it grabs and it'll cut for you. So, all in all, I was a big fan, dude. I mean, I thought it was a great bag.
All right, so let's do the easy one first.
Yeah, I mean,
design score. Where are you going with this one?
Design score. This is going to be the lowest of the day. Only because
still...
I mean, look at the lineup ahead of us. So, this guy, I'm going 99.8.
Oh wow, you're not fucking around.
Yeah, it's 99.8.
Okay.
I'm throwing decimals in on this.
Listen, I like this design. Again, it wasn't my favorite out of all of them. Obviously, it's near and dear to our heart. It's got our logo. Yes. I like the font that he uses for Psychosis. It's got his logo in the bottom right corner. I like the paint splatter type look in the background. I'm gonna give it a 90. I love the design. It's really good. I just like the other ones are just fucking nasty.
I mean, I think I pretty much segued to the rest of my answers for that one.
Performance score.
Performance-wise, I mean, on this bag, I was a big fan. I'm going to go, give me the 89.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I liked it as a carpet bag, and I mean, I've been moving away from throwing carpet a little bit more just to kind of broaden my spectrum, but this one, I like the feel of it in your hand. It works. Like, all in all, like, it's a well-made bag. I like a little bit more of a squared bag when I'm throwing carpet.
Yeah.
It kind of fit right in my wheelhouse. So yeah, I was a big fan.
I mean, for me, again, it's a carpet bag. I'm not that speed. It just doesn't seem to work as well. I'm not gonna throw a high PPR with
this is a bag like too that's gonna kick like an MF around.
If I don't really work on getting it flat. So for me, it's like a 68 right around there. Like again, I'm not gonna be mad if someone wants to throw it. It won't be my first choice. Like I don't think it's making like my rotation of bags right away. Now maybe the next one might. The next one we're gonna review is the Reckless. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube here, oh my goodness gracious, and
carry it for a second.
Red carpet. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Carpet is sexy.
When I first grabbed this bag, when I first opened the package and I pulled this out, the first thing that caught my eye was the design. I think the design is just absolutely nasty. And then I felt the back, and it felt super familiar, and I didn't want to believe it. If for the 724 bagger family out there, okay, this is essentially like chaos. Okay, it's got the same carpet on the slow side. On the slick side, it's got the slide right type material on it. So we're going. It's like that kickless carpet. It plays a little bit faster than a typical carpet, so we're gonna go speed wise, like maybe like a 4.5, 5. On very fast boards, it's gonna definitely be closer to the 5. On slower boards, again, it's like that 4.5. I mean, maybe sometimes a 4 if it's real tacky. But again, the draw and the reason that this slow side material was so popular and why it still remains popular to this day is because of the versatility. You can still get this bag to cut. You can still get it to roll if you throw a very angled shot. But if you don't throw the world's most perfectly flat bag and you still want something a little slower, that is what this carpet does. This hybrid kickless carpet. It is a great sliding carpet. This carpet is extremely hole forgiving once you broke it in. We know that the slide right material, it tends to be a little bit of a thicker material. It takes a little bit of time to break down. But as it breaks down, it becomes butter. It just takes a little bit of time. I mean, we're talking condition it, throw it in the, rinse it out, throw it in the dryer.
Don't be afraid to wash that one.
I mean, this has not been thrown all that much. And if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, it's pretty much ready to go already.
No, I'm not one to say condition. I think if you literally just wash them and just let them air dry, they tend to come out.
I've been doing a lot of more conditioning to bags, but I got away from doing like fabric softener. I always felt like it left that residue. So I've been doing more conditioner, but I really make sure I rinse it out hard.
Yeah.
Like make sure everything's off there. Hard. And then I just let it go and tumble dry for like an hour on no heat, and then the bags are really ready to go. This reminded me so much of the Chaos when I first pulled it out. I had to double look, and even kind of the designs. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. But, man.
I mean, it's I love the design he did. I mean, he even adds in like the little thing like 216. I mean, the area code from Cleveland. Just a little attention to detail like that goes above and beyond for me.
Not to mention it's orange.
I'm gonna say that I was very high on the Chaos. Was very high on the Grenade. I still prefer 724's fill ratio. I think it's the fill and the kind of the ratio that it uses. Than this, but again, the performance of this bag is very, very similar. I would say this is maybe a slightly fuller version of a Chaos. If you have Chaos and Grenade, if you're fortunate enough to have both those bags, you'll know that the Chaos tends to be a little bit thinner. Grenade tends to be a little bit thicker. This is closer to like the thickness of like what the Grenade would be.
Yeah.
But it has the same slick side as a Chaos. Design score for this one, I love this red, orange, black type look on it. It was something unique, something we hadn't seen before. It wasn't somebody just slapping our logo on the bag and being okay with it. I mean, design score wise, I'm going 97. I love this.
All right. I mean, my design score is a hundo.
Okay. Well,
easy.
Perfect.
Easy hundo.
Performance factor. Again, I was a 68 in the last carpet bag. Again, this type of carpet bag plays more in my wheelhouse. It's more of a sliding type bag. It's slow enough where I can still take a little bit off and then try to play a block push game if I want to. The template of it's very squared. The closing seam's very nice. It grabs and pushes bags very nicely. If it was a little bit thinner, maybe it would be a little bit more of a fan. But I think as the bag breaks in, the fabric stretches, it's going to be a very, very, very nice bag. Performance-wise, I'm going to go an 83. Okay. So pretty solid right up there.
So for me on the performance, I know I gave this guy an 89.
Yep.
It frustrates me because with this style carpet, I feel like I should be able to do more than what it does.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a kickless carpet. When I throw that angled shot, I'm expecting it to kind of give me a little more than what it does, but I think a lot of that has to do with they're not broken in yet, so like it's a little different feel in the hand. All in all, I mean, I still love the bag. The thing just, I mean, it's a hole hunter for sure. And if you're stroking and you like carpet, I mean, dude, it's money. I'm gonna give this one an 80. I'll go 85 on it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still love it, but again, sometimes with the cut shot, I felt like it should cut a little bit more than what it actually did. And yeah, just me being a little diva on it. Like I thought maybe that bag should have went in.
It's hard for me because I'm such a big fan of 724 bags and
and you have
fill.
Very similar bag here.
I have basically a broken in set of Chaos that is like one of my favorite bags to throw. So I have a hard time because I'm kind of comparing it to that.
Yeah.
So I have to put it lower than what I had the other bag.
But honestly, like if you're a 724 Chaos fan, like dude, give them a shot because it's a good freaking bag. Like,
yeah. Well, and again, he's still up and coming. You're probably going to be able to get a set right now. I know 724 bag. I mean, everyone wants to be part of that 724 army, and I understand that 100%. But sometimes getting the bags on those releases can be tough.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for an alternative to one of those bags, you might want to check out Southwest Bagger Company.
You don't have to spend $500 just to get a set of 724. It's a decent alternative.
All right, now the next one we're going to do is the last one by Southwest Bagger Company. This is called Hypnotic.
Just such a goddamn.
It's a great design. I love it. It is essentially an all slide. You have the slide right type material on the slow side. You have like that game changer type material. It's a really nice bag. We just now, everything aside, we just got this bag in today. We only had a chance to throw it for a few minutes before we had to start recording. But again, it plays very similar to an all-side. I like the template of it. I think it's smart that he plays.
You got like 7 and 9 on it?
7 and 9.
So I'm thinking too.
Again, I think it's smart that he goes with a squared template with a bag like this, so that if you do miss the bag, just short left or short right, you don't have to take that drastic step out to try to bring the bag in. The corners are naturally going to kind of just do the...
corner's going to flop in, and then if you throw a second bag that catches, the other corner kind of hanging off on the side, it's going to bring him in.
I do got to give him... I got to give this guy credit.
Dude, some of the best closing seams we've seen.
Yeah, and just the seams in all of his bags. I mean, these are professional bags, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, if you picked up this bag and you open it up and you check this out, like, this is right up there with, like, some of the best just overall quality of bags I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... I mean, again, I'm talking, like, right up there with Jared Nash 724. I'm up there with, like, Jeff Reynolds. Like, I mean, this is very, very good.
His seam work on this, it would not surprise me if, like, somebody in the medical field kind of has... like stitching with it, because I mean they're, aside from their closing seam, the seams on the side, man, they're flawless. I mean, it is clean.
Yeah, they're very nice. I mean, it's a very well made bag. So again, there's not a whole lot to say about this. I mean, it's practically an all side. I mean, if you're, I don't know, if you're listening to the show, we've used those terms enough that I'm hoping by now that everyone should go and throw an all slide.
Yeah.
Right? Just because, like, then because it's just so widely comparable. This bag is essentially the same thing. We're talking same fabrics, slightly different fill. I'd say it's a little bit fuller than, like, an all slide would be.
Yeah.
Again, but some people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Yeah. And again, this material, we know as it breaks down, it tends to stretch out a little bit. So it's going to get a little thinner. It's going to be very hole friendly. Again, I do like his fill. Universal, it's a relatively fuller bag though. But again, really well made. Speed 7 or 9. Design score for this, I mean, I don't like it as much as the Reckless. So the Reckless, I was at 98, I think it was. So I'm going to go with a 95 for this one.
I mean, I'm going 100 again. Because it's cool as hell.
Now, performance score, where are you going? Now I'm trying to think, like...
Performance score for me, so like...
It's hard because it's not... I haven't had a chance to throw this as much as the other one.
But I'm basically going based off of my experience throwing like a broken in all slide and how much I like throwing it in competition. All slide to me is the one bag that, like...
You actually throw well.
I throw it well. In competition, I can actually throw it pretty well, just because that 7 side, that's the only side I throw.
Yeah.
I never throw the fast side on it. And this is, I mean, it's right up the same alley, so I'm still going to give this one a 75. I haven't been able to throw it enough to really give it a better score than that, but like, I would feel confident if somebody had this in their bag broken in, that I could throw it in a competition and still be competitive. It
feels, when I first picked it up, like, yeah, okay, I'm using the term all slide because most people have, like, know that bag. When I first picked it up, honestly, what it kind of reminded me of is if I was getting an Inferno.
Yeah.
A Dragon Bags
I can
Inferno.
See that.
So if you're a Dragon Bags fan, this is basically an Inferno. Same 2 type materials. I mean...
The only difference, though, is the
scary. No, I was just gonna say, scary how close the fucking template is to the newer Inferno.
The problem with me and like judging Infernos is like I've only ever thrown like the set that you have.
Correct.
And those things are like so broken in that like
So what I'm saying is for like the newer Inferno where he went with a little bit more squared of a template. Okay. It's basically like if I went to go grab in my car right now, one of my like 18 sets of Inferno that like I haven't had a chance to really break in, and I held this up. It's basically the same thing. Yeah, it's very, very similar to that. Inferno is one of my favorite bags once it's all broken in. I'm judging the bag on how it plays right now. I'm gonna go an 82, just slightly lower than the Reckless, which I had an 83. I'm gonna go an 82 with this one. Again, I know I'm gonna like it as it breaks in. The design score, isn't it weird that sometimes the design makes the bag, like, it almost makes you want to give it a better number?
Yeah.
It's weird, but anyway.
What do you think all these were, like, upwards of, like, high 70s
so
90s?
If you are in the market for bag, now we should know that these bags are not stamped.
They're not stamped.
They're not ACL stamped. So if you're an ACO player, if you are a backyard player, you're looking for something new, you're looking for something relatively affordable and readily available, on Facebook, go check out SW Bags Bag Company. SW Bag Company. Thank you very much. We love good products, killer designs. Keep up the good work. Really good product there.
Oh, I mean, I'm definitely gonna throw one of these in my arsenal for sure. I mean, luckily for weekly leagues, you can just have things that meet the specs of ACL.
Now, the next one. Ooh-wee. One of our favorite, our favorite bag companies in the world.
You gave us our favorite bag design.
And okay, so I gotta say something real fast. So. We never asked for these bags. Again, our grandmother passed away a few weeks ago. These bags were randomly showed up. I opened it up, not knowing who it was from, and Doug and Tiffany from Big Daddy Cornhole sent us these 2 sets of custom bags. We've already reviewed the Rival, but if you're on YouTube, you can see these guys here.
Yeah, we had to throw them up there because that's
the design's
the nastiest design I've seen.
And they also sent us their new Ruckus bag. We had not reviewed this yet. But they sent us a nice letter basically saying thank you for all you do for the cornhole community. They're thanking us. This is why Big Daddy, like when I go to a tournament, when we were at Cito's Cornhole cancer fundraiser, we decided to throw a Big Daddy because we love the people.
Yeah, they're great people. Hell yeah.
Doug and Tiffany, thank you very much. Like that, you have no idea like how
I'm so happy that they're ACL stamped now.
I want to support you guys in any way I can. So so thank you again. I mean it was unnecessary because we already loved you guys, but thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Now, with that being said,
knocked it out of the park too.
All right, so we've always been big fans of Big Daddy. Mm-hmm. The one thing that we've always made a big point is you can't sell a bag that's named Big Daddy and have it be like a little floppy bitch bag. Okay, yeah. So they're always gonna have a little meat to them, and this is basically like a man's version of a Surefire.
I agree, 100%.
Like, I'm not like you almost need some hands to throw these fucking things.
Yeah, I mean, not knocking a Surefire because I know like a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a good bag,
and stuff, but like I've thrown a lot of Surefires broken.
This would if the Surefire and the Ruckus met on a playground, this would be like a heavyweight fighting a flyweight.
Yeah,
this would kick the shit out of a Surefire.
And like honestly, it's just as hole forgiving as a
Surefire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's like these materials. I mean, it's virtually the same 2 materials on it, and they get hole friendly as shit. And yeah, I like the little extra fill to it. It's a great bag. So slow side again with that slow side material, it is so variable on the board conditions and humidity. It can go anywhere from a 3 all the way up to like a 6. I mean, there is such a huge variability, which is why I kind of like it. Yeah. You just have to know what you're getting into and how do you throw the bag really well. If you like a slick bag and the boards are fast, this is gonna be right up your alley. If you like a slow bag and the bags are tacky, again, this can be appropriate. If the boards are tacky and you like a fast bag, this is probably not gonna be your best choice. Or you flip it over and throw the slick side. Because on the fast side, it's like game changer type material. So we're talking like anywhere from a 3 to a 6 on the slow side, again, that huge range, and then like a 9 on the slick side. The fact that, again, this bag is squared, it has some ass to it, this bag cleans up so great. My biggest downfall, my biggest complaint when I'm throwing either a Surefire or a cornhole scenario friction is that sometimes because of my bag flight, I tend to have a hard time pushing that bag when the boards are slow. I know I struggle with it. This solves that problem. Don't have that issue. I agree.
It's like a fucking bulldozer going through, just clearing out the lane.
Like standing across from the board from you, you have it's like an up and down throw. Whereas like when I'm throwing like carpet, it's very linear. I mean, it's just a straight line drive. So I understand that with you for sure. But like when I'm throwing fast bags, I feel the same way as you. Yeah. Because I have that little loftier throw. Yeah. Just to kind of let the bag land a little bit softer, and then like it's hard to get out of my head for a push. Correct. To be like, hey, throw this thing like a line drive, and it'll work. Because most of the time I'm like, I'm gonna pick up both these bags and scoot them right off the back. Yeah. But with this one, dude, it makes the push shot that much easier. You don't have to change up a whole lot. Exactly, yeah. And you can still flip it over and go slick side if you got to try to get through a tight corner, or it's a slower boards and you want to and you got to kind of clean up house and go through 2 bags or something. You can still do that, but just because it has a little bit more substance to the back, I think it just cleans up very well. I know you've always been a big fan of their closing seam. Yeah. You like that it puckers just a little bit, gives you a little bit of texture in your palm. Yeah, I throw seam outside of my palm, so it doesn't affect me whatsoever. In my palm, so like the way that they have their bag designed, like it almost like it curls up into your palm, so you don't even feel it. when it's in there, and that's what I've always liked about their closing seam. Which there's not many companies out there that do that.
No.
But
I mean, we can't say enough good things about Big Daddy. I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. They across the board,
and now they're ACL Pro stamped.
Yep. I mean, there hasn't been a bag that we've tried yet that we're like, yeah, they.
Which, I mean, I think that's the reason why we actually have to give the Ruckus a quick little review, because it is Pro stamped now, so people might have forgotten about it.
Yeah. So again,
Rival, I'm sorry.
The Rival.
Yeah.
So the Rival is again their carpet bag. It's a slower carpet for sure. Yeah. You've thrown it more than I have.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing with the Rival is when you first start throwing it, the thing lands like it almost lands like, it's hard to explain. It's like I guess like an airbag. Like the thing hits and like it'll just like, it won't even spin no matter how much revolution you have. It's gonna hit and just slide up. Then once it breaks in, that's when the magic starts happening.
Yeah, it's like almost like the carpet needs to get worked in a
exactly.
little bit. Yeah,
Once that carpet works in, man, that thing, like, you can do any shot under the sun with it. It is a great freaking bag. I remember when we first got our very first set of Rivals, I brought them to like a blind draw that first day. By the end of the night, those things were broken in and ready to rip. And I love that bag still to this day. Now that they're Pro stamped and he sent us that sexy ass set, that's going to be in the rotation for sure. So
again, like with the Rival, it's like a 3-4 carpet.
Yeah, I mean
speed.
that carpet. I mean it's very slow.
You have slide rip material on the slick side, so again like a 7. Going back to the Ruckus, you have that big variation on the slow side, anywhere from like a 3 to a 6, 9 on the fast side. Both bags we're big fans of, especially if you like a fuller bag. Now, if you are somebody that wants like a super loose, floppy, like hardly any fill, like you get the bag and you're like, do they fucking fill this thing? These are not the bags for you.
I think a lot of those people are like front holders. Like, so if you're looking at my grip, they kind of tend to grab the bag like toward the front and they like kind of flick it out there.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say like White Claw fans or something.
That could be too.
Okay.
I mean, we got to ask Feinstein what he likes to throw, but to me, like this, if you're a guy that likes to put the meat in your palm and do like a little kind of like a butterfly pinch on it, man, this bag, like it's something special, man. It's a good bag.
Design.
I mean,
easy.
So this one, I gave 100 on the last one, on the last two. This is gonna go 105.
Yeah, it's 100.
I'm going above 100 scale because they nailed this design. It is so cool, and
the color schemes are
it's just
green and
orange.
orange.
I mean, it's
and
not
black.
like, granted, Southwest did some phenomenal work here. I love what they did.
We said at the beginning of the episode, this is the best looking design we've had across the board ever, by far.
Hands down. I mean,
by
not
far.
to mention like they all have the Outcast Wahoo on there, which were near and dear to our heart. But for some reason the colors and like just the little background that he has on this, like, dude, it is so cool.
Their design person killed it. Performance for this, where are you going?
Performance for me, dude. I mean, I'm gonna go up there a little bit again. I'm actually I'm gonna split the first two that we did.
Okay.
Give me an 86 on that, on the Ruckus.
I wish I would write these numbers down, because that's like kind of this.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
I'm gonna go up one higher. I like this bag a lot. I'm gonna go 87.
Yeah, dude. It's
right
a great
up.
bag.
This
man.
bag, it needs to get a little bit more broken in. I just need to put a little bit more time into it. I'm playing this weekend. I might be playing with this bag this weekend.
So the Ruckus, we just did a couple reviews on the same kind of materials. What did that remind you the most of? Because there's one in my mind that, like, when it was in my hand, like, I instantly thought of the same one.
It's hard because we've reviewed so many freaking bags. I'm trying to think what we've done somewhat recently. It's not the Typhoon.
It's something that you felt happened, but then happened again.
Deja Vu.
A
little bit, yeah. I think the Deja Vu is a smaller template overall, but the materials, yes, spot on. Yeah.
I mean, and the fullness of it. I felt like both of them were a little bit thicker.
Again, Deja Vu, that was with
710?
710 Cornhole, correct. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, the materials are spot on. But yeah, I would say this is a bigger template, a little bit. Just a bigger template, really. Because like this, the Deja Vu is more of like a OG kill shots type template,
yeah,
like that smaller
smaller.
set. But yeah, big fan of the Ruckus.
It was forefront of my mind because I just worked in those.
Tiffany and Doug,
710s.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I hope you guys are going to Cincinnati for the Open. I need to meet you guys in person.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
It's been a long time coming. Thank you for everything you guys do. And thanks for all the support from everybody.
Yeah, we
it's crazy.
really appreciate it.
We're coming up like dangerously close on like 100,000 downloads.
Yeah.
Which is still crazy to think. We're less than 2 years in. When we first sat here and we joked about like mom and dad being our only listeners and getting 10 listeners. I mean,
hey,
it's so crazy.
Mom still listens every week.
It's still crazy, and the fact that we're growing every week still to this point just shows that the people that were with us in the beginning are still with us now. That means a whole lot to us. We're very family oriented kind of people. So people always ask like, don't you find it annoying when people message you and like you get back so fast? Like I get back because like people don't have to listen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I get that 100%. And so we do appreciate every single person that listens. If you reach out and I didn't get back to you, it's probably just because I missed it somehow. But
yeah,
I try to answer every single message, no matter what the question is, to the best of my knowledge. Because we want to help everyone.
Back up now, so I deleted it for a while there because I was just getting so many messages while I was at work, and I kept looking at them, which was one of my problems. So, but it's back up now. So I just learned to turn the notifications off, which technology, right?
I was trying to give you time to get the rap horn, but
for the rap horn, come on now.
But again, thank you very much for everyone. I mean, we do appreciate it. Cue the rap horn.
It's coming.
It's
Give
coming.
me a second. It's
just
here.
pausing. Reach us at Instagram and Twitter. I thought you were going to hit it again. Reach us at Instagram and Twitter at BigAsp Cornhole.
And Facebook at BigAsp Cornhole Podcast. Thanks again to our sponsors. Visit airwolfathletics.com for the best swag in the biz. Use code BigAsp. You'll get yourself 10% off. And our new sponsor, cornholesolutions.com. You need some sexy boards, some mats to match that, or hell, some fucking bags. Hit up cornholesolutions.com. And get some shit.
Get some shit. Bagsport.com for the sexiest backpacks and patches in the game. And blackjackhornhole.com. Don't need to say anything else because they have the best logo in the game. Easy as that.
They do.
Code BigAsp will save you 10%.
All right, we need some housekeeping here. Actually, yeah, go ahead.
Apple Podcast reviews. It's been a while since we kind of mentioned it. If you can drop a review, greatly appreciate it. I have some patches left. So I'm going to make a deal. The first 10 people that send us a screenshot.
It's got to be 5 stars.
5-star review and something written. All right. Send me a screenshot of it. And it has to be from today going forward. All right. So from today going forward, if you leave us a review, I'll send you a patch and we'll go from there.
Sweet.
This Saturday, we are hosting our first tournament we've ever run.
Yes.
Actually, I can't even say anything because you've handled everything. So, we have gotten an overwhelming amount of people that have reached out to us interested in this tournament. We wanted to make we just wanted to make one thing clear. The space that we have for the amount of boards is limited.
It is limited.
There's not some giant open field. So we unfortunately we have to cap the amount of teams that are going to be in this tournament.
Yeah.
We're going to cap it 32-ish.
Yeah, I mean,
if 35 teams show up, we're not going to push 3 teams away. If 60 teams show up, we're really sorry, but we have to cap it.
So like obviously everyone that's reached out to us so far, you guys are in.
Yes.
I've heard of a lot of other teams thinking that they want to come out. Like, I just encourage you guys to please reach out to us and give us your name, give us your partner's name, so we can get you on the list. Because once we reach like 32, man, like. The crappy part is like we're only going to be able to set up like 6 sets of boards. We want more, but like
we'll probably be able to get
doesn't own that much space.
We'll probably be able to get it up to like maybe probably 7 or 8, but that's not until like 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
We understand that. I've been to tournaments before. No one wants to be at a tournament that lasts 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that for anybody that's coming. We want this to be a good experience. So we're going to cap the amount of teams. We're going to probably be right around 32. Again, if 35 teams show up, we're not going to kick anybody out.
Yeah.
But please reach out, message myself, actually, if you can message our page, that would be the best thing. Just so it's all in one location. If you've messaged us so far and you told us who you're coming with, who your partner is, you're fine. You're counted as one of those groups. But if you haven't yet and you're planning on coming, if you do that, great. We're also going to post have a little post on Facebook tomorrow.
Yeah,
just letting people know to message us if they're coming. Because, again, if we have 60 people reach out to us with their partners, we're taking the first 32, and it's just going to have to be like that. Again, because I want this to be a good experience for all those who participate.
Yeah, I mean, we get it that it's a good prize pool. If you're, like, on the fence of coming out and you don't have a partner, reach out to us. Like, we might be able to help you out with some people.
There are a few people there
that are looking.
Yep.
So, it's just let us know. And, I mean, there's not much else to say on it. Like, we're going to post it up on our page.
Listen, we're hoping
Facebook,
this is an annual thing, and we want it to be bigger next year.
Yeah. It's just the first one. Like, everyone's like, oh, this is your guys' tournament. No, this is not our tournament. This is for PJ's, our OG sponsor. We wanted to run something for them. It's the space that we have. So
if you want to support us and you don't play in the tournament, just come out, grab some drinks, hang out, please. That's what
beer
we want.
Specials. So
it's literally the best Irish pub you've probably ever been to in your life.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's the only bar that you'll walk into on, like, a Saturday morning, and there will be nothing but soccer and rugby on the TVs.
Well, and it'll be, they'll have college football on. And
I mean, eventually. But, like,
I
mean, all that stuff shows at, like,
it's
11 o'clock in the morning. So.
As fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to be at, and, I mean, the owner's even better guy. So, I mean, Pat Campbell, thank you so much for letting us run this tournament for you, and, hopefully, we just don't get overwhelmed with teams showing up.
That's why we're capping it.
Yeah, so we're gonna...
Listen, I'll be fully transparent. It's because me, and I'm, like, I have a hard time letting go. I let Dane run this whole thing, and I started having panic attacks this morning driving to work thinking we're going to have, like, a million teams show up, and we're not going to be able to get the tournament done. So I talked Dane into it. We're going to cap the tournament. Again, it's 32.
The only reason we're capping it, too, is because we've only had so many people reach out to us that we're like, all right, these are the teams set. Let's cap it.
Let's get an idea.
So, like, I feel like people will start actually reaching out after we.
And hey, if we get 32 teams to show up, that's still pretty good numbers.
I mean, that's dope. I mean, again, you're only going to benefit from great beer specials and
our company.
I mean, we're pretty special. Sean's actually going to play in it, so I'm just going to run the tournament.
I get to play. He gets to do all the work, so that's pretty fun.
It's not really much work when it's on a tablet, so you just have to, make sure everything goes according to plan.
Obviously, people should go check out harddragpush.com.
Of course.
Look out for new updated top 10 rankings and a kind of an overview article of the ACL Open whenever I can get to it, whenever minute. Harddragpush.com for all your cornhole content, videos, all that stuff, and we'll be definitely getting some live content from this tournament this weekend.
Hell yeah! I mean, when I'm not having to man the self-running tournament, I will be getting content. So.
Absolutely. All right. As always, we hope you throw it straight, and it's nothing but 4-baggers from here on out.
Cornhole it.
Later. Welcome back to the BigAsp Cornhole podcast, where we are joined by none other than Mr. Trey Ryder. Trey, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? I think it's my third time.
It is your third time, yes.
Are we counting?
Third time. We're starting to adjust your schedule a little bit. We noticed it's close to your bedtime, so we appreciate you staying up for us.
Yeah, this is you're on the clock there, guys.
Oh, we know. We'll make
always. When do you take over the rights to the name just Mr. Ryder? Because, I mean, your dad's still there. I mean, I feel like you're almost there, like in the spotlight all the time, but when I think of Mr. Ryder, it's still your dad.
That's a loaded name right there. So I'll have to. I'm gonna wait as long as I possibly can until everybody just starts forcing it down my throat.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Trey. Okay, we'll call you that. First Open this weekend. Obviously, it's exciting. Live cornhole's back. The season's kicking off. A loaded field, for the first Open of the year. This Open last year kind of opened the doors for, kind of told us a lot about the upcoming season. If you kind of look back at everything, what were some of your big takeaways from this past weekend?
So a couple different things. I think one thing that from a high level, it was cool and interesting to see, a lot of the bag changes. I think from this season, we had a lot of pros that, really dove into different opportunities with different bag manufacturers this year. I think we transitioned as a sport away from, if you were a pro, you went to these 3 or 4 manufacturers and then everybody else got the trickle downs, right? And so now it was really some of these newer companies making the investment and saying, hey, look, I really need to get my name out there, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to poach, some of these top players, or you had some big players jump from smaller to bigger, or just different manufacturers. So I thought that was interesting, right? So, Matt Guy didn't change manufacturers, but changing bags. I'm interested to see how he plays with those incinerators all year long. All I've been hearing from Jamie and Matt and Jason is that this incinerator is going to be the savior of Graham and Guy, and they're going to be the most dominant team and dominant individual players there is. So in a way, I'm really excited to see if that's true, because by all means, I would love to watch all season long a 2020 Jamie Graham version versus the Matt Guy that I saw in Open number 1. I mean, how fun would that be to watch? So
it'll be fun to watch, but I guess by the 4th match it'll be pretty fucking boring. Because
that's true.
We're playing at that level.
Yeah,
it is a nice bag. We're gonna be reviewing it coming up, but it's right in their wheelhouse for what they're gonna both play.
Yeah.
So I can see that they definitely it's going to be a perfect marriage for those two, I think.
My question is, McCannon kept saying it's not the bag. Apparently it might have been the bag, Jason. I just wanted to, that.
Okay, so go ahead.
I think part of it is too, and I've said this time and time again, when you talk about a pro and playing with a bag that they like and a bag that they love, the difference may be them throwing at 100% or throwing at 98%, right? So, obviously, if you put Jamie Graham and Matt Guy with a bag that they like it, kind of like, if they're at 98%, are they still going to destroy everybody? Yeah. But if you put them against Jordan Power that throws 50 out of 52 bags in the hole, maybe they miss 3 or 4 extra bags that leads to a total accumulation of 6 points. And is 6 points in a game that ends up 21-18 the difference in it? Absolutely.
Yep.
So, that's always something that has to play a factor. But yeah, excited to see those two. I loved, apparently, like I said this on Around the ACL, apparently I lit a fire in Jay Rubin, which I love. So Jay Rubin apparently I give him good bulletin board material. So he uses that. And I think he's going to be a really strong player this year. Him and Jordan Power is high potential as anybody. So for them, they're a team and a duo that I have very high expectations for. So it's one thing for Jordan Power to be able to come into his rookie season and say, hey, here I am. This is me. This year, I'm calling it his Matt Morton year, because he's now comes in with the target on his back. He comes in with the expectations. And so there's an element to playing under that type of pressure. So I'm really interested to see that. And then just as far as the rookies go, I was really, really impressed with, Noah Almanza. He was kind of the surprise coming out of the Open, really impressed there. The Ochoas, I knew that they were going to be good, and they finished about where I expected them to be. So that was good.
In the bracket or something like that.
Yeah. I think they were 7th overall or something like that. Joe Niestedt really impressed me. He was a player that I was really excited to see play for the first time. Alex Hicks, to be honest, I maybe expected a little bit higher of a performance there, but at the same time, rookie, first Open event, playing as a pro, he's going to take some time just to get, his sea legs going or whatever. I mean, so I'm excited to see Hicks play.
So going back to Powers a little bit, right? So he hasn't this target, right? You call the Matt Morton. If you can't put two guys together that have more of a different personality than Jordan Power and Matt Morton. Do you think that his attitude, that little swag that he plays with, do you think that's beneficial for him going into this year?
I do, because I think he's going to be able to handle that target a little bit better, right? Yeah. So it's one thing for someone to step up to the board against Matt Morton and say, I'm coming for you, Matt. Like, I know you're a top player, and Matt having that personality, it might make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. He doesn't know how to handle that type of situation. Whereas for lack of a better phrase, Jordan Power might not tell that dude to F off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just he's very engaging. He's very, animated in the way he plays. So I think because of that, he's going to have an advantage in the fact that he can kind of withstand people targeting him because he's ready for that. He's meant to play like that.
So two guys you mentioned early on. All right. So Jay Rubin, Matt Guy. Jay Rubin, I clearly he listens, right? He gets the bulletin board material. He's clearly a top 10 player, right? He's shown it the last 2 years in singles. I just want to see him finish. You know what I mean? And obviously he went against a historically good Matt Guy at this Open. So I'm not knocking him down. Still won his bracket. Hats off to him. He had a great. I just want to see him finish this year. Matt Guy is somebody that I found it interesting. We all release like pre-rankings, right? I left Matt Guy off my rankings, and I feel dumb now, but part of it is like, do you think he pays attention to that stuff? Maybe just a little bit. Like, I bet if you asked him on camera, he'd say no, but off camera, I don't know. I just feel like maybe it was the bags. Maybe he likes a little bit of motivation fight. Cause he's got that fiery personality too. He likes being the GOAT.
So I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Because I'm going to say I think he's more in his own head than anybody in the game.
Okay.
And I think no amount of pressure, motivation, or that we can do externally can influence Matt in any way, shape, or form. I think he is 100% internally motivated. And that comes with benefit and drawback because I think it benefits him because he, like I said, outside noise doesn't really affect him. But I think this past season showed me any type of adversity, and it can be minuscule adversity. It's not that he can't handle that or doesn't fight through it. He wants to make a change. How many times did we see him switch bags this season still within fire? How many times this season did we see him go from a step to standing still, to a step, to a standing still? How many times did we see Matt Guy post a video that said, I changed my shot to a lower line drive after doing that? But everything has to be modified. If he's not throwing what he threw this weekend, he's going to modify it, right? And what this weekend showed me was if he can repeat that, he's going to be the number one player in the country. But the problem is I think it's not going to take but 2 months before Matt Guy changes something because he has one tournament that he doesn't live up to his own expectations. And I think in that respect, he's in his own way. Now, the one thing that could play a factor in that is health, right? I think there's a reason he made the change to go from a step to a standstill. And so he's had 2 months off. He's played in one shootout game where he played in the shootout championship. You got to play one game, right? Aside from that, he hasn't played since the first week in August. I guess he went to Spencer McKenzie's, but at the same time, he's played one time, right? Yep. And so being able to then transition to a step, I really want to know how he felt on Monday. I mean, how was the knee on Monday? That would be a question. If I had Matt Guy in an interview, it wouldn't be, how did you stay laser focused? It would be, how's the knee feeling?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a factor in ultimately what his outlook is this year.
Listen, sometimes great players are tinkerers. You know what I mean? They're always trying to find that perfection. So I'm thinking of an athlete who was also dominant in his game that was constantly tinkering with his game, no matter how dominant he was. Do you know who I'm thinking of?
Oh, geez. Give me a hint.
He's probably the best golfer that ever lived in our lifetime. Tiger Woods, right? I mean, dominating the tour. What does he do? He goes to change his swing coaches, change his clubs. He doesn't have to. I mean, the guy was playing phenomenal, but then he had to change his swing as he got older a little bit. He was putting too much torque on his knee. I mean, that's just those two just being at the top for so long, and they're constantly looking to try to not just change things, but to change things to try to top what they're already getting. Because it's almost like they get bored a little bit. You know what I mean? That he's been on top so long. So that he always just that situation, how much he changes always kind of reminded me a little bit of Tiger.
I mean, it was also a common theme for us with Matt Guy last year, talking about the longevity of these tournaments. Oh, yeah. I honestly think fatigue has something to do with a national tournament, especially if you're a stepper. I mean, I know, like, I'm a lazy fat guy. Stepping repeatedly just does not sound fun for me. But, I mean, Matt Guy's he's pretty in shape dude, but still, I mean, it's going to take its toll on you when you're playing for that long, for that, like, the whole weekend. especially because you're playing what's usually starting Friday.
Yeah.
Then moving all the way through to Sunday. And, like, it's not like he was having, 2 and outs. I mean, it's Matt Guy. So I think, fatigue could definitely have, but, an open, that's right up your wheelhouse. You're in and out. Those a little bit quicker tournaments. You might be playing a little more frequently than in a national, but yeah, I was happy to see him at top again, though.
No, I was too. And for me, honestly, it's not that I don't want him to tinker or think that's a bad idea. What I'm saying is tinker and then write it out a little bit, right? Like what I just don't want to see is flip, flop, because then when you do that flip flop, where does it matter the most? It matters the most on that broadcast court when you're playing against someone at the highest level. And for a split second, if you're second guessing, man, maybe I should be stepping right now. Man, I should be throwing a lower bag. Man, I should. And you're not just focusing on, I'm just in the zone right now. I can't miss. That's when it can ultimately make the difference for someone like that guy. Because we're not comparing that guy's standards to the 30th ranked player right now. We're comparing
last year in quotes was a bad season for him.
Right.
And he was still up for like MVP. You know what I mean? Like he still won Rookie of the Year. I mean, it's not like he had a bad season. I just didn't know going into the season, were we going to see a rejuvenated Matt Guy? Obviously, the answer to the question, yes. Was he putting the work in behind the scenes to correct whatever was going on at the end of the season? He just didn't seem to be Matt Guy level, which is obviously otherworldly. So I was happy to see that, like, silence the critics like me right away. Matt, if you're listening to this, you're in my top 10 again. It's coming out later. Don't worry. You're climbing back up very quickly.
You're already releasing another top 10?
Yeah, man, I'm going to keep going with it. Listen, content, man. It's all we got with the season's back, baby. So I wanted to go back into new players a little bit. You mentioned one guy. He's from Western Ohio, Noel Manza. We got to watch him play 2-3 weeks ago. Cito Soto hosted a cancer fundraiser. He was there. The kid can just stroke. I mean, he throws a very angled bag, can really manipulate the stuff. He's going to be very exciting to watch. Steven Ochoa was also there. He might be the best outdoor player I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, yeah.
And the wind there was ridiculous. Didn't matter. Just could stroke. The one person that I saw, I haven't gotten to see her play live in person yet, but I've seen tons of videos of her. I want to get your take on Miranda Coy and how nasty is she going to be on the singles for women's this year. Do you see her?
Yeah, no, I think Miranda Coy. So
I'm putting you on the spot. I know.
So again, I
she
think
just plays such a different game than 99% of the other female pros out there.
So I'll say this much. Unfortunately for Miranda, I think the ability for her to win a national event because it's women's doubles comes down more to Courtney than it does her.
What about singles?
So you're talking like a shootout because we don't have women's singles.
Yeah. Let's go shootout.
I would not be surprised if she wins a shootout.
Okay.
I think if I had to rank my female team, and I haven't done that exercise, so I'd have to really rank that out. But if she's in the top 8, that would mean statistically, I think she's in a good place. Also in a shootout format, because she plays more of a blocker roll airmail type game, that makes it more in her favor, I believe, rather than someone throwing bag for bag for bag for bag. So I think she's really special. Now, what I want to see is more confidence on the slide shot, right? Because she's going to frustrate the hell out of people with that roll shot. In that block shot, right? Yeah. But I want her. I give her the same advice I give Eric Davis. Don't be afraid to be boring sometimes if you need to be, because boring can win. And so if she can develop more of that consistency on the slide shot, I really think, she can be a very special player.
So we've been talking about new exciting players up and coming. You guys had a daunting task this offseason of selecting the new pro rookie class. Can you go over that a little bit? Like how difficult that was? What did you guys consider? Was it obviously their playability on the boards mattered? Did you guys take into account like social media presence and overall, growing the game and all that kind of stuff? Did you guys take that into account at all?
So the short answer is kind of all of the above. So for us, the process was actually not as long as it had been previously, which is good. But essentially, it was because we did a lot of homework ahead of time.
Okay.
And so what did we end up doing, just in the matter of full transparency, is we took a look at each player's right at a gate, they're just raw numbers. And so things that we did in a way was assigned value to things like open ranking, the qualifier, the pro qualifier, if they played in it, if they did well in the qualifier. And I'll go over why I said that specifically in a second. And then, so open ranking, play the qualifier ranking, if they were a pro, and where their pro ranking was, if they were returning. And so based on a bunch of those factors, kind of gave them an arbitrary, we created some type of scale that kind of ranked people. And if you were in a bucket, that was the one thing that upset a lot of people. It was like, well, this person, I was ranked 15 spots ahead of this person, I got in. We really grouped people, right? We had, everybody that was in this boat had a similar score. Everybody that was in this boat had a similar score. Everybody in this boat had a similar score. And then from there, it was based on how they were, broken down. Like we had our shoe-ins, right? There are some people, if they hit a certain score, we didn't even talk about it. We accepted them. We said, you check all these boxes, you did this well, blah, 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 you're in. The other thing that was, and this was a tough pill when I told people this to swallow sometimes, was we never penalized somebody for playing in the pro qualifier. So if you finished 0-8 in the pro qualifier, we just said we gave you a little bit of credit for playing, but we didn't give you additional credit for doing well. Okay. So in no way were people, that was another thing that people got mad about. This person went 3-5 versus this person that went 4-4. There's two reasons we didn't want to do that, right?
Any given day.
We want to motivate people to play in the pro qualifier. If I start telling people, if you finish 3-5 in the qualifier, it hurts your application, then people don't want to play in it anymore. And so that's what I didn't want to do. And the second thing was, we had a running list of about 80 or 90 people that once they lost 3 games or 4 games or whatever, they said, I'm out of here. So I can't even know, to an extent, how many of my results from someone that went 1-7 all the way to theoretically 4-4 or even 5-3 in some cases, how many of those are 100% accurate? Did you actually go 5-3, or did you go 2-3 and then played 3 back-to-back people with buys or something like that? And so that was part of the logic that we had to take into consideration that a lot of people don't really think about, is that there were some buys built in there once people lost that third game because they knew they weren't going to make it into the bracket. So yes, open ranking was a big factor for us. And then the other, sorry, I knew I was forgetting one. We actually pulled statistical data across the board for every single player. And most of that was PPR related. We did take a little bit into consideration DPR. Okay. But in the matter of full transparency, here's another thing that we found is that someone with a DPR varies greatly, especially when you're not talking about pro division, right? Because I know if I look at a pro's DPR is a valuable stat because it's measuring how much better than another pro are they. Yeah. Right. If I tell you, you take my DPR, and if I tell you my DPR is 1.5, well, that means I'm throwing against someone with a 4.0 PPR over here next to me, right? And so in that case, is someone throwing a 5.5 PPR? Are they that good? And the question becomes, oh, well, I play a dirty game. What if you throw a 5.5 PPR? You're not throwing a pro caliber game. Yeah, I don't care what dirty kind game of game you're playing.
Putting them on the board.
Listen, just look at the pro rankings last year. I mean, you can almost go where they finished in pro ranking to where they were in PPR. Now there's exceptions, obviously. Eric Davis comes to mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
but he is, and there's varied exceptions. But for the most part, the people that were averaging like a 6, and there were some of them, they were at the very bottom of the pro pool. And I mean, I think that's smart.
Yeah, and so then what we did was, again, but we broke everything into buckets. So it wasn't if someone had an 8.5 and someone had an 8.4, we didn't rank that person ahead of this person automatically. We created buckets for everybody. And so once we went through that whole statistical analysis, we then had our buckets, okay? And then you have your buckets. These are your guaranteed yeses. On this side here, your guaranteed no's. And then as you go in between, maybe the second from the right is these people, they have to have, they have to be like really bad, just, character or something for me not to, or there's an extenuating circumstance, or there's something, right? And the same goes from the other side. This person better have had a recommendation from, God himself in order to get into our list or something like that. So then it became harder in the center sections. And that's when I know that controversy comes into play. Well, this person was a little bit better here than the person there. But the thing is, and I always tell this story, I compare it to an Ivy League college. So that's what the acceptance rate was like. Coming out of high school, I applied to 5 schools. I was very much I was very studio. I was in the books. I went to school for engineering. I applied to Princeton, and I went to Princeton, and I visited Princeton. And when I went on the tour, they looked at us and they said, every year we accept about, 6%, 5% of our applicants. Okay. And that total number, let's say it's 3,000 people, or no, it's not that. It's like 1,500. Let's say it's 1,500 people. If I took those 1,500 people that I accepted and I ripped up their acceptance letter and say, just kidding, and I threw all of those in the trash, every single one of them, and I took the next best 1,500, statistically, they would be the identical graduating class. There would be no difference from a statistical perspective, the difference between those two. And that shows you how deep the talent pool is for an Ivy League college. We ran into the same thing, right? I easily could have taken these group of pros or these PDC players that we accepted and said, just kidding, I'm going to take the next batch. And statistically, they would have been almost identical. So then it becomes, well, then how do I stand out, right? And then we're diving into things like, do you have previous history in the ACL? Did you play a ton of ACL tournaments this year? We did reward some people for playing in 150 ACL tournaments, right? Okay. We rewarded someone that was committed like that. Are you doing things, high character? If we had someone, there was a person or two where we literally got like 5 or 6 different recommendations where people reached out to us. We did some digging, found a high character individual, and maybe dipped down a little bit to accept that person from a statistical perspective. But at the same time, we felt confident in that decision because they weren't too far off. They had good recommendations. They hit all these. It really varied from person to person. So it was tough. But when we tried to make it as objective as possible and then leave the subjectivity to the right on the fringe, it became a much easier conversation and a much quicker conversation to have.
So then you guys made the tough decision. You selected the pros through your process, and then you guys come up with this new Pro Development Cup. How did that come about? Do you look at this as kind of like, for lack of better terms, like kind of like more of like, I don't want to call it the minor leagues because, I mean, I guess you could because you can get the call up at any time, right? If your performance plays well. Is this something that had been in the works for a while, or was this something that relatively you're like, listen, look how much talent we have. We have to do something. We can't keep pushing people away, or you might drive them away. Yeah, I mean, you might kill somebody's confidence. So I'll just where did the Pro Development Cup kind of come from and all that?
Yeah, it wasn't something that was thought about for a long time. It was an idea, and I can't even remember who thought about it. And it was really only about a month and a half ahead of when we announced it, where we even just said, oh, that's actually not a bad idea. And I think the PDC is going to twofold accomplish things. The first is the lesser important of the two, but it is good. It allows us to have a full field of 256 for singles and 128 for doubles at our national events, which I think is something cool. And I think that's something that also helps from a gambling perspective. You don't have to worry about buys and things like that. So ultimately, I think it's good. So I like that. The second more important thing is that this year for us, last year, I think growth was a big word for us. This year, kind of in a similar field of words, but it's going to be development. So I think we've done a lot of things that have laid the infrastructure for a very successful league and sport. And so for us, we need to now develop those different pieces of infrastructure that we laid. So for us, one of the big things on our docket is developing our players into professional athletes. So this coming year will be the first year that you see the ACL sign multi-year contracts to players. It will be the first year that you see us really invest in pro player personalities. And it's no longer, for a long time, you and everybody saw this, and it was on purpose, right? It was always ACL's got to be first, and you better just kind of come along with it and do whatever, because, we have a brand to protect. And, to an extent, it's, we can't risk it with someone that's not fully bought in. Now that we're developing these pros, and we have some pros that are fully bought in, that are invested in us, they're really excited for the future, it's time for us to kind of start building out them as superstars, right? Someone like a Trey Birchfield, one example of someone that
might take
we could market
take a lot of money.
Yeah. You market Trey Birchfield to the moon, and, that sort of thing. And we really develop him as a superstar, and we go through the process of mentoring him. We go through the process of really, for lack of a better word, developing him. And so along that, this Pro Development Cup gives us a way to develop people before they get into the pro division. Here's a great example of someone like, that I wish we could have something like that from like a year ago, someone like a Josh Holland, right? Because Josh Holland comes into this pro division as, I would say, most everybody has him maybe top 5. A lot of people have him in their top 10. I think everybody in their right mind has him in their top 15 player in the world. And he comes in with so much expectation, and things like that. And he has no experience really with the ACL Pro Division, and he has no experience of being, think of someone like a Trey Birchfield that has now been in the Pro Division for his 3rd full season. He knows what it's all about, right? Yeah. He knows the expectations. He knows everything and all the things that we've been teaching him to be successful. Josh Holland, he's going to be thrusted onto an ESPN stage for the first time.
I can't wait to see that interview. I can't wait to see that first interview.
But that's what I'm saying. And so, like, Josh, we have some other things that we're doing on the other side. So we're not necessarily worried about that too much. I'm worried about Josh in particular. He's really just an example. But the PDC is giving us an opportunity to develop people that we think have really good potential in the long run. Another perfect example, the Gore twins, right? Exceptional cornhole players, but a little bit raw, right? I think we can all agree.
Yeah,
the Gore kids are a little bit raw.
Hot, so.
I mean,
I think Scotty would agree with you.
Yeah. It's funny to talk to Scott about his kids, because he's like, I don't know where they get that fire from.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, and what's funny is, like, you talk to Scotty about the PDC, loves it.
Oh yeah.
The kids were very disappointed. Right, that they get into Pro Division. Scotty loves it, and that tells me a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
That tells me, I think he recognizes the same thing that we do, that there's an opportunity to still give people that are really talented people the opportunity for spotlight. But in another way, it's also a way to groom them. It's a way to develop them. They're going to have access to all the resources that all the ACL pros do as far as developmental tactics and things like that. And so ultimately they grow into a really professional player. And the first time that they sign that ACL pro contract, which is probably going to be the year after, they're already ready. You know, they're not coming in as rookies anymore. They're really coming in as people that get the mindset, that get the methodology, and can really focus on just being professional athletes.
So let me ask you, out of all, so I mean, you kind of stole my thunder there a little bit, because I think that they have the potential to come out of the PDC and then actually potentially make a splash into some sort of pro bracket. They're not like dark horses anymore. Everyone knows no one would be happy to play them, right? Either one of them. Is there anyone else that you are excited to think, or at least has potential to, if all things go well, maybe make a run if they got a chance in the pro bracket?
I cannot wait to watch Trevor Brooks in the Pro Development Cup.
Yeah.
I know he wasn't too happy that
and you know what? I love it.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't happy. You know, from this the Pro Development Cup was made for Trevor Brooks. You know, you can put that as your tagline, and I know you guys clip all your different videos.
I'm calling Trevor right after this.
Trevor Brooks.
It was made for him because he does not need much to develop on his game, right? Obviously, some more consistency, right, and everything like that. But Trevor Brooks is raw, just like I talked about the Gores. You know, and I know Trevor was really upset and really mad, and we talked with him about this, and he even said, you know, I should have had my chance, blah blah blah, and you know, one of the responses to Trevor is, you know, you had an opportunity to automatically qualify. You went 4-4 on the qualifier. You came up short. You had a chance in open standings. So if you were an exceptional top tier, right? Obviously, you could have automatically qualified that way. I think if Trevor Brooks plays a full season last year in open standings, he probably automatically qualifies. But he didn't play the whole season. That's my point. He did not play it. He didn't do it. He had the opportunity to, but he didn't. So what I'm getting at is I love Trevor Brooks. I think he is great for our sport. The problem is I just want him to show that he can be an 8 out of 10 instead of an 11 out of 10 on the Trevor Brooks scale of chaos, right?
And so I just wanted to go over real quick because I've had some people ask me personally, and I think I understand it. I just wanted to hear it from the man's mouth about the PDC. So they come in, it's a singles tournament, correct, beforehand to see who can fill in. And then basically whatever open spots are there, you take those top seeds to fill in those open spots for pros that can't make it. Is that kind of
so at the first tournament that happens on the entire weekend will be a PDC rounders. So they'll play a rounders just like the pro qualifier. They'll play a number of games, and let's say there's 5 spots available in singles. Okay. If there's 5 spots available, then the top 5 finishing players out of that rounders will be awarded those spots. Okay. Same thing for doubles. They won't do a doubles rounders, but what they'll do is if there's 2 spots available in doubles, they'll take number one, number 2, number 3, number 4 in the rounders. We'll give them an opportunity to pair up themselves and say their team. Now, based on that, we'll place them in the bracket accordingly. Now, if they're like, we can't decide who to play with who, then we'll match them up however we do it. But yeah, they'll have to play with another player that is also qualified.
Okay, so that's the interesting part that I'm happy you brought up, because we bring up the Gore twins. If they want to play together in that, they both have to make it through that rounders and singles, correct, in order to possibly make it into doubles together.
Correct.
Which is interesting too, because we could have a Jacob Gore with Trevor Brooks situation.
That'd be a pretty good team, wouldn't it?
That would be a great team. A lot of fun to
watch. Scotty might have to be standing right next to the porch for
that. He might have to be the scorekeeper on that one.
So I wanted to ask you, just changing gears a little bit. Obviously, the off season. I mean, as long as it is. I mean, let's be serious. There's some player discipline stuff going on. So I wanted to kind of go into a little bit. I mean, obviously it's known now that Jordan Campbell was suspended for the season. He was found altering scores. He's not the only player that this was found. Can you kind of just go over that discipline process, just so everyone kind of understands it? We're all on the, it's out in the open, at least for how it was this past year. I know this upcoming year, the process has changed a little bit based on the pro contracts, but at least for how it was last year, like with the appeal process and everything.
Yeah. So any discipline action this past season, if there is something that's deemed to be violating the integrity of the game, a suspension comes directly from Stacy Moore, so our commissioner. So as soon as there's a punishment, he files it. He notifies. And actually, most of the time, he's not doing the communicating. It's usually Josh Keck that does the communication. He takes the suspension from Stacy. He is our national director of compliance. He issues that discipline. And this past season, he would copy the player, and he would also copy Mike Morton, who acts as the pro player liaison. And so once that discipline gets handed down, then the player is offered the ability to appeal. Most of the time that a player is going to choose to appeal. When that player appeals, they are required to name, and I might get these numbers wrong, so don't put on me, I believe 8 to 10 fellow peers in the pro division to serve on the appeals board. From that list, Mike Morton selects, I believe, 4 of those listed. And then one of 2 national directors is appointed on that board as well. So that rotates between Todd Kasicki and Dave Weiser.
Okay.
It used to be Josh Kick as well until he moved into the compliance role. And so now he doesn't do that anymore. Okay. Then from there, they have a hearing where Josh essentially represents the handed down punishment. He delivers the reason for the punishment, the evidence, all that. The player gets an opportunity to plead their case. And then the national director that's on along with the 4 pros has to meet and decide on whether or not to accept the punishment as is, or completely wipe it clean, or deliver a reduced sentence, or reduced punishment, whatever it may be. And so yeah, that's pretty much exactly.
So like for Jordan, for example, he went through the appeals process. They decided to uphold the original punishment, which was suspension, through
Correct.
Singles and doubles. There was another individual, popular player, up and coming player, that's also suspended this year, but it was a little bit different in the appeals process. They found something that maybe they shouldn't hand down as harsh of a punishment, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah. So again, Matt Stout went through the same type of disciplinary action, same punishment as Jordan. And then just when the appeals committee met and they came down, there was something about the evidence that they had that they were able to rule out something, as far as a time reference of when notification was of not being able to scorekeep correctly or something like that. The timing didn't work out. So essentially, they threw out a piece of evidence, and because of that, and because that situation viewed as different than Canva's, that's the reason that ultimately Matt Stout was just suspended from singles events and allowed to continue to compete in doubles events this coming season.
So there was a lot of chatter when all this stuff first came out on, obviously I think it's the easy take for you guys to be the bad guys, right? Coming out. Can we just go over, like, why is this a big deal? You know what I mean? Like, what's at stake here? And just maybe let's lay it out for people just so we can kind of put this to bed and put this to rest, so they kind of understand why this was such a big deal.
Yeah, so essentially what it came down to, and to really break it down, is essentially in an egregious version of it, it's, I score a 6-6 wash and I register it as 12-12, okay? The reason why that's a big deal, because it did, first thing we get, it didn't alter the course of the game, blah, blah, blah. So ultimately, when we apply to different states to become legalized in gambling or sports gaming, it's a rigorous process. It's a legal process. It's a lot to take on. The thing is, all of these there are literally some states that have rejected cornhole and said, not big enough, not legitimate enough, not ready to take that chance yet. States have literally just said no. Okay. There are other states that have literally said, when so-and-so state approves you, we'll approve you. I mean, literally, that's just how these things operate. And so for us, when you have someone like that, let's say you were placing a wager on, let's say, Jordan Cambo this past season, okay? And the reason you placed a wager on him is because what did you do? You went to the ACL website, you looked at you clicked on the pro tab, you went down to the stats, single stats. Jordan Cambo is ranked 15th, but he has the 8th best PPR. 8th best PPR would tell me that he is doing exceptionally well. Okay. And look at this. He's actually 3rd or 2nd in opponents' PPR, which means his opponents are for some reason having these really tough games against him. So he's got a lot of bad luck. What does that mean? I'm going to place $5,000 on that event. Okay. Now, what happens when later it comes out that the reason that he was so inflated was because he was just inflating scores. In reality, his PPR was way lower. And if I had told you before you placed that bet that his PPR was actually a full point lower than what it was, would you have made that wager? And the answer is absolutely not. You wouldn't have, because that was the whole basis for your wager. Now, I'm using a very small example for a very big problem, because this leads us down a bad rabbit hole. It can put us in a blacklist or a black ball situation, right? States do not have to take a chance on cornhole. They don't. They don't have to approve cornhole, right? They can say it's not worth the risk. There's not enough data integrity there. There's not enough whatever. And they can say no. And so for us, if we don't have gambling in our sport, our ceiling becomes, it falls through the floor. That's non-negotiable. For us, it is non-negotiable for us to not have gambling in our sport. It's just not going to happen, because it's too critical to the success of a sport nowadays. And because of that, we need to bring the hammer down on people that mess with that at all, even if it's, quote, unintentional, even if it was only 1 or 2 rounds, even if it was whatever. You have to maintain that integrity, because if you've compromised that, then you compromise the ultimate vision of the entire league. So what we had to decide ultimately was, and again, this is really blown out and it feels exaggerated, but it's not. You have to decide, are you going to let 1 or 2 people slide in order to just, because you like them and you want the best for them, and you're just doing it because you just have a good vibe about them? With the risk, is it a relatively small risk? I don't know. I don't know if it's a big or a small risk. But if there's a risk that someone comes down and says, you're done, because of this, it's not going to happen anymore. For us, it ultimately just became way too much of a risk. We need to get a grip on this now. Unfortunately, we had to set an example, and ultimately it just leads to a really crappy situation.
It does. It does. I mean, obviously, we all love the game, and no one likes to hear these stories. But I mean, listen, it's cornhole. Sometimes content is lacking. So I mean, it was a big story. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that I'm hoping that going forward, though, we don't have to talk about this stuff anymore. I mean, hopefully, people will learn from others' mistakes.
Right.
Let's be honest, on a weekly basis, I mean, us in Cleveland, we talk about the officials, giving away games for other teams for football. I mean, it's going to go on forever. Let's be honest.
Well, and I know,
that's another thing we talk about too. Is
go ahead.
That's the other thing we talk about too. Is the idea of officials at every core. Now, what people don't realize is we've done the math. It's about a $200,000 expense. So I mean, it'd be different if it's something that we plan for. If that's something that we like, okay, we might have to plan for it. There's a good chance that eventually we move that route. I don't know if we were mentally prepared to make that move this year. So that's just it's a budget question and a conversation about what we end up wanting to do. But it's doing something like that. It's not as easy as just snapping your fingers and saying, let's put put an official at every court, because now, are you convinced that me hiring an official for $12 an hour is going to know how to score cornhole that consistently better than, Jordan Kamba and DJ Powell?
You mean people aren't just jumping at the bit to volunteer to do this for free?
That's another option. It's can we find 64 people that are cornhole players within a region to hire them at a respectable, $10 to $15 an hour and sit at a board all day and keep score? That's an option, but again, it's a $200,000 to $250,000 expense for the season.
What you do is you offer a tournament to those 64 players at the end of everything said and done, and just throw like a $1,000 prize pool. People would be willing to do it.
I think it goes back to before you said the new term for this year's development, right? You're trying to develop professional players. You guys are trying to not recruit is the wrong word, but like accept high character individuals. So you're hoping that these high character individuals are going to be just that. And going forward, it should be a non-issue. Hopefully, everybody in this game, it's in everybody's best interest if this keeps getting bigger. And like you said, if this messes the gambling aspect up, the game's not going to keep growing.
Right.
And I don't get to sit here on a Tuesday night and talk to you about cornhole and throwing beanbags at a board anymore. It seems sad.
Gambling just has such an upside in our sport. It just does. And the way of live betting is becoming more and more. And one thing that's so unique about our sport and that people don't realize from a gambling perspective is the most common betting right now is live betting. So people wanting to go in and at halftime, they want to hit, second half money line on whoever, right? Mm-hmm. In cornhole, what's so special about our sport, our games are 15 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
That is, when we tell that to sports betting partners, you can see the drool coming out of their mouth, because they're like, you're telling me I can get someone engaged and then 15 minutes later, a new game pops up that they can immediately drop a live bet on. And then 15 minutes later, another, and then another, and then another. That's unheard of. And so that's why we have so much potential. And that's what people don't realize. The problem is if we screw it up before we even get there, it doesn't matter.
Listen, I'm happy that right now, at least maybe my wife is happy that Ohio doesn't have sports gambling currently. So let's just put it that way. So
she once it comes here, though, you're gonna clean house, so get ready for it.
Okay, so let's move on to some of the lighter stuff for the show.
Some of these were some heavy hitters.
Some of them were, but we'll go to some of them. So one of the interesting questions I don't know how you're going to answer this. I'll be interested to get your opinion. Is Richard had posted, should bad companies have a salary cap for sponsored players? That way one bad company doesn't necessarily have like all the best pro players. And he made an interesting point, something about should somewhere of like the 5% of, the rec bags, should that be used in like a pool to kind of like spread amongst, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting question. It's something I hadn't really seen posed before. What are your thoughts about that? Like about these powerhouse teams, like kind of gobbling up. It's definitely more spread out now than it was a season ago.
Yeah, no, it really is. That's I don't like the idea of a salary cap. Okay. Because ultimately I want my pro players to get paid.
Yeah.
So for me, when I think about a salary cap, what does that do, right? If I say Ultra, you can't spend more than $50,000, right? Let's say they can't spend more than $50,000.
They're probably not getting room in a tower.
Right. Well, yeah. If they wanted to spend $70,000 and I put a cap on it, does that automatically mean that $20,000 is going to get spent? No, it probably means that a smaller bag manufacturer is going to come along, and those people that fell into the $20,000 range, they're only going to get paid $7,000.
Yeah.
Do I ultimately limit the earning potential of my pro players, which at this point in time, I'm not interested in doing. Now, with this ACL Pro Teams concept coming out, with the idea of in the future there being some different developments and things like that, maybe. I don't know what the future holds in that regard, but the last thing I want to do is limit a sponsorship package for any of my pro players because, I want them to make a living off cornhole, and I don't want to limit that.
So it's funny that you mentioned the team aspect. Rich Norman, he said that there's rumors floating around about there's going to be no more crew cup events at nationals, and that they're going to be changing more towards like a team format with like a draft. Do you have any of the details of this? And then are we going to, like, as fans, obviously we're not expecting to see it like on a main broadcast, but is that something that like the ACL Digital Network is going to be looking to cover? Because like that would be, I think that's a really cool concept that I've been wanting to see for a long time.
Very excited for teams.
Okay.
So yes, Crew Cup is going away. Sorry, Crew Cup at nationals. And so it's going to be replaced with ACL Teams. So ACL Teams is going to be, and we'll release full details within the next 2-3 weeks. Okay. Essentially 16 teams of 16. So for you math geniuses out there, that's 256 players, which makes up the full ACL Pro Division. For this first season, the top 16 ranked pros from the previous year will essentially do a draft of the entire singles.
Okay.
They will draft, and we'll do 15 rounds of drafting, and we'll do.
Is this going to be live stream, this draft?
So we're trying to go through details now, but the idea being very similar to the NFL, where we'll have night one will be like the first 3 or 4 rounds, and day 2 will be all day. And essentially draft entire teams of players. And then at nationals, you either 16 teams throughout the entire season, you will play every other ACL Pro team once.
Okay. So
that's 15 games. If you divide that between the 4 nationals, it'll essentially be 4 matches besides the last one, 4 matches per national. And each time you play another team, you'll go 10 versus 10, 5 doubles games. And whoever wins 3 out of those 5 doubles games wins the head-to-head matchup. Okay. So obviously you have 16 players per team. You're only playing 10. There will be minimum participation requirements for everybody on the team. Okay. If you don't have a full team, you're not penalized if 2 or 3 people from your team can't make a national. Some of those other small details are coming out there, but essentially and then all leading up based on how you do throughout the entire season, seeds you into the ACL Pro Team Championship, which will be a bracket at the World Championships in August. So
how
it's going to be really
qualify for that bracket then.
Everybody. But you'll be seeded. You'll be seeded okay. Based on how you do. So really excited because we're going to come up with 16 team names. We're going to brand those teams as Let me just clarify this. I think this is something that's kind of confusing. I get what you're saying, but if they're just kind of listening to this is not necessarily, not each team is going to have a bag sponsor, right? Maybe in the future, I'm sure you guys are looking for investors to maybe sponsor these teams. I would think that's an easy investment opportunity, right? So the idea is to franchise these into team owners. Okay. And having team owners acquire these teams. Yes. And the targets for those team owners would be celebrities. So, and pitching celebrities as team owners.
Now, would the team owners then draft their team?
So that's those.
Obviously that's still in the future, I guess. So
yeah. So for that one, really what this year is a proof of concept, right? Okay. We got to execute it. We got to see how it turns out. And certainly I envision in some way these ACL teams being formed into, very similar to NASCAR. where you have NASCAR teams and people, sign people to teams, and then they release people and they get picked up by another team. There's a free agency period, very similar to other sports, right?
What's the financial, like, I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of payout for first place team. They divided up through, I'm assuming, the 16 members of some sort.
Yeah. We're going to take part of the $1 million prize pool and have a small percentage of it.
Just as like a test out kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. This first one, we're not sure exactly yet. Now that may change, because one thing that we are doing is we're pitching this to our current networks, other network partners. We're pitching this as something that can maybe be made for TV. And so we're pitching that to other partners, especially some other ones that may have some streaming components to it. And so if one bites and we sell a sponsor for it, then who knows, this first year we may be able to seed some money into it, and we may be able to, really showcase it on a different platform or a different broadcasting platform. So who knows?
So this is not necessarily for all you fantasy football fans out there. This is not like a keeper league. This is not like a dynasty league. This is like a redraft, right? This first season is, hey, we're going to draft these teams. We're going to roll out. We're going to kind of use this as like a trial period. And then from there kind of adapt, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So what's cool is like I said, though, we're going to have 16 team names, we're gonna brand each team name. So like,
who gets to come up with the team names?
You got a good team name? I might put it on the list.
Of course, yeah. I have 1,000 of them.
Yeah, well, I'd give a journal probably just.
Yeah.
You send me a list. I'll see if I can get one of those team names on there.
All right. Okay, that's cool. No, I think that's a cool. I think it's that concept of it. That's the one thing that was always missing from porn. Obviously, like you have like. I remember we talked to you last time. You guys wanted people to get away from calling it like Team Fire or Team Ultra, like, you know what I mean? Like, because this was a concept that had been working up for a while. It's cool to see them. Okay, yes, you're with a bag sponsor, and I think that gets really interesting when you start drafting players. Do you start drafting players with like bags, or that they're already pro partners? And I think that strategy wise, that's like to me, like I'm already getting excited. I can't wait to see.
To me too, it spreads out the love amongst the players too, because like. Players are very region based right now. I mean, a lot of the ones hang out with each other that are like in the same area, which I mean, obviously those are the ones you see the most, but the team aspect of it, I mean, you could have, so-and-so from California and so-and-so from Boston, like playing together and, never meet each other before that, but they're going to start cheering for each other. So I like the thought behind it.
I love it. Team sports we all grew up playing, and so it's just going to be another way to have a team on there.
So I have I'm actually an avid listener, so I like to throw in my own questions on this.
Go ahead.
So I got to ask you, is Wake Forest the real deal? I know you're a Clemson guy.
Is Wake Forest the real deal?
Just weird.
Depends what you mean by real deal. It depends what you mean by real deal. So are they top 15? I think they deserve to be. I think they're probably the 13th or 14th best team. They're not a top 10 team.
No, for now.
They're not a top 10.
I mean, it's hard with that style of offense that they play.
But listen, Wake Forest should just be excited that they're going to like probably make a bowl this year. You know what I mean? Like they should be good. Like, go Wake Forest. Like it's not basketball you guys are getting recognized for. So good job.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. It'll be a good game. I'll be at the game. I'll be at the Clemson Wake Forest game. It happens. I think it's November 20th is the date on that. So I'll be there.
Okay. I love this question. Corey DeRusso wants to know who wins a world title first. Okay. Mac Jones or the Gore brothers?
That's such a good question. I love
that question. I loved it. As soon as I read it, I'm like, this is definitely going up.
Mac Jones or the Gore brothers? I'll say Mac Jones.
Homer.
Yeah. Homer. And the reason for it, I think statistically, and this is such a cop-out answer, you guys are going to hate this.
It's all right.
But Mac Jones has to compete against 31 other teams. The Gore brothers have to compete against 127 other teams. And so they may be a top 10 team for a very long time at their potential, but to win a world championship is statistically not in their favor. So
listen, I'll give you credit. Mac Jones has been very impressive his first year. I mean, maybe not getting all the results, but his progression and reading and running the offense have been very good. So
Mac Jones will actually be decent if they can get him an elite receiver. He needs one elite receiver, and he can be really, really good.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think you guys drafted well. I think it was a smart pick, and I mean, I know the Brady still has to hurt a little bit, but it is what it is. Let's see. Adam Deere, I'm just gonna ask you because I thought this was funny. Did you? He wants to know. Did you see the weirdo in the green and gold overalls in the first match of advanced singles?
Oh, I see Adam Deere. No matter you can't not see Adam.
He's
Deere
from
wherever.
Wisconsin. Is that where he's from?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
The Dragon. He's the Dragon.
The Dragon. Okay. And then I don't know. Me and you had talked about this a little bit. I know you said you're not really overly well versed in some of this stuff, so just answer however you can. Due to the new bag regulations, is a company like Cornhole Scenario, like, do you feel like it's going to be difficult for them to, or like completely done for the season?
No, I mean, I will say, let me default by reiterating what you said in that I don't handle bags. But at the same time, you know, we are not, especially on that type of policy front, we're not going to be quick to hammer anybody unless there's need to be. You know, you gotta, I know a lot of the bag policy things that come out and things that get relayed now to manufacturers can kind of be a little bit wonky to some people, but at the same time, every bag that goes out now, there's pros and cons, right? Every bag that goes out there now, yes, has the ACL logo on it. The bad news is every bag that goes out there has the ACL logo on it. So like if you put a bag out there, you know, with Patrick Mahomes' face on it and you sell it on, sell it out there and then Patrick Mahomes gets a hold of it, you know, we're liable, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's the other thing. That's the other aspect of it too. But no, as far as like the regulations go, nobody's automatically like, there's no policy that we put out there, I promise this, that is, we set it just to backdoor in somebody to pull the rug out from underneath them. There may be policies that come into tech that say, hey, get your shit together, right? Yeah. But everybody's going to have their chance to get their shit together. So
fair enough.
Now, if they choose not to, then that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So last listener question, Anthony Ione wants to know what's up with this 24-hour ACL TV, and what's up with the new show you guys are producing?
Yeah, so look at him just setting up the layup.
Oh, of course, yeah. I had to give him. He's a friend of the show. I had to help him out a little bit.
Yeah, so ACL Cornhole TV. Full details are getting released tomorrow.
Okay.
But we are really.
So if you're listening to this, it's today. So be on the lookout.
Oh, it's today. We just announced it today.
Correct. There we go.
Yeah, 24-hour channel. It's going to be Cornhole 24/7, 365. So it is going to have a lot of archived past broadcasts. So if you're the type of person that's like, I want to watch Cornhole, but I don't even know what I want to watch. I don't want to dig through the digital network. I don't want to go look for whatever. I just someone, if it's like me, when I watch The Office, I love to watch The Office, but I don't want to pick which episode. I want you to just pick one for me.
Put it on Comedy Central, just let it play and let me go.
Yeah, and then combined with that, we're going to try to target 7 days a week having some type of original programming or live programming. Okay. So we will have 3 shows that will be hosted on there. So the first one is going to be Around the ACL, which we just released yesterday.
Correct. Very good.
And that's going to be a weekly kind of results recap discussions, very Sports Center, very Baseball Tonight, NFL Live type of show. General discussions about the sport, what's happening, who's winning, who's not. Then the second show will be the Borderline podcast, and that's going to be hosted by Jeff McCarriger and Bernie Neighbors. And kind of a play on words, they're really going to tout the borderline between cornhole and life.
Okay.
And so their podcast will be, and their show really will be very much taken a step back from the sport. They really wanted to dive into things like current events, deep conversations, mental health, struggle, adversity, things like that, and have some deep conversations with people and get to know people within the sport. And then also bring in other people that have experience in other sports, and they want to bridge the gap between cornhole and the sporting world.
Okay.
And they have some really great experiences to pull from for that show, and something I think is going to be really special. And the third show is going to be Girls Throw 2. So Michelle and Whitney, Girls Throw 2, they've already obviously started that this year. I can't say enough good things about them. They've just come so far. I mean, for being a group, for being a pair that really didn't know the sport at all, 6-8 months ago, and obviously they're still developing a lot of their knowledge now, but how much they've picked up on and how much they're learning and growing has just been really impressive for me to watch. So I love what they're doing. They're going to be delivering cornhole from the eyes of a female player, and they're really going to be focusing on the show on ACL Cornhole TV with getting to know players and stories behind the scenes and and diving into those cool different stories. So between those 3 different shows, we have those. Then one day a week, we're going to have ACL Live. And ACL Live may be an ACL match play. It may be a bracket breakdown. It may be a preview of the upcoming event. It may be a gambling preview show. It's something that's going to be live content specific to what's happening in the cornhole world. And then the other 3 days are going to be live streaming and events. So it's that event, national event, world championship, whatever it is. Really putting together something that's 7 days a week of cornhole. It's going to be available on the ACL Digital Network, but it's also, we're working with our distribution partner to hopefully get it on a lot of the major streaming network partners. So hopefully, and not solidified, but hopefully people like YouTube TV, Sling TV, and Comporium, where we are, and DirecTV Stream, and a lot of these different big streaming platforms. When if I turn on my YouTube TV at my house and channel 430 whatever is now going to be ACL Cornhole TV. So really cool that it's going to be something that you can turn the channel to if you have streaming at home, and a really exciting endeavor for us, just the next big step in content creation for us.
5 years ago, I bet you didn't think this was possible. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I shouldn't word it like that. Maybe you were hopeful that this would have been the outcome.
9 months ago, I didn't think this was possible.
Fair enough. Well, hey, I thank you very much for taking the time. I know I reached out to you kind of last minute, so I appreciate it. Filling in the gap for us. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you guys the best of luck. You guys are already off to a great start. It's gonna be an exciting season. I'm happy just because then there's stuff for us to talk about, so it always helps. So we always appreciate your time, and we'll let the people go, and then we'll hang out with you just for a minute.
All right. You want to
sound good?
off?
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
As always, we hope you throw it straight, and it's nothing but 4 baggers from here on out.
Cornhole it
later.